All right, now that we're physically ready to go with the with our little panel wired up, now we're ready to do some layout. So this is where you're going to need these things. You can use a glue stick if you want for this, but we're going to lay out what we're going to do in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a receptacle in this box, a light switch in this box, just a regular light switch, and we're going to put the light receptacle in the light receptacle box. So you're going to need to cut out along these dashed lines that are here this regular light switch, one of the receptacles, one of this light bar right here, and then you will need two of the green wire nuts and one, I think, yeah, just one of the red wire nuts. Now, save the pieces that you don't cut out because you'll need those later on. By the way, this is the light switch that we're going to need. These are actually different. These are three-way light switches that we're going to deal with later. All right, so please cut those out. And now that you have these cut out, please put just a little tiny drop of glue on there, maybe on each end, on each thing. We're not doing these two yet, but where the light switch is going to go in there, the receptacle is going to go in the first box, and that light switch, it's okay if the corners stick out a little bit, is going to go in there. And we may need to use these again, so just a little tiny tab so that you can actually pop them off later and you reuse them if we need to. Just a little tiny dab. My glue has got a little problem here. Oops, that's even a little too much. So, all right. So maybe I'll be able to get that off later if I need to. Okay, same thing with the other ones. And we've got these guys for use later. I'm going to set those kind of aside here. Now, each one of your wires is a 2+ ground wire, which means that we've got a neutral that we're going to represent with the pencil. We've got a ground that we're going to represent with green, and we've got a white neutral that we're going to represent with blue. So that's why you have those three things. And we're drawing these as if they are not wrapped in that white sheathing, right? So here we go. So let's start off with our receptacle. So we've got a, you can make yourself a little note if you want, that there is a hot side over here. The hot side is, when you look at this, oh, my camera keeps locking up. Come on, camera. There we go. When the hot side is the smaller eye of the face of the thing. So I just wrote a little H right there just to make sure I know that that's the hot side, and an N over here that makes sure that we know that that is the neutral side. If you were looking at the receptacle, the hot or the brass side, and the neutral have the kind of silvery buttons. And then down here, there's the ground. Now, this isn't perfect because, you know, the three wires will be about the same length, and we're just making sure that we know what goes where. So let's get started. Now, we have a problem with ground because there's only one screw here, but we're going to have a ground wire coming into this box and a ground wire going out of this box and into the next box. So that's where one of these little green guys is going to come in. So we're going to put this, it's going to get a little crowded. So we'll kind of have to figure this out. We'll put this guy over here, maybe at a little bit of an angle like this. So it isn't a perfect world, and we're doing the best we can, but let's go ahead and put one of these little guys, put a little tiny dab of glue on here. I think I'll put it at an angle kind of facing inward like that. I don't want to get it confused with these other wires, but that's kind of the way that it's going to have to go. So we'll just do it like that. All right. So with wiring, we usually start off with ground because it's a safety thing. So we're going to take our green pin and show that we're connecting into there. Okay. And then we're also going to be going out of this. So I'm going to cross over my own wire here. Whoops, my pencil edges. I had to resharpen my pencil with a knife. So I'm getting two edges here. There we go. Oh, for crying out loud. Hold on. There we go. Sorry for the mess. It's going to come out here. I'll deal with it where it goes in a minute. And then one of these will be cut a little shorter than the other, and the other one will be hooked up over to the ground. Okay. Now this is going to get kind of messy, and just do the best you can with it because we're packing a lot of stuff into a small space. Now we're going to have our neutral wire we'll deal with next. Now our neutral wire is going to get connected here. Now, just like on an actual receptacle, our neutral side is connected together so we can come in and out. Okay. So our neutral side, we're going to kind of we're going to do our best to fit all this in here. And I'm coming in, and I'm going to come to one side with one neutral wire that comes in from power, and then the other one that goes to this box is going to go, I'm going to go across this, and that's okay. So I'm going to go out, and I'm going to kind of come across here, and we're going to go out with the neutral. All right. So I know it's kind of messy, but we're showing that we've got two grounds coming into one ground. One comes in, one goes out. We've got our neutral coming in, and also it's going out. And now we need to have our hot, which is going to be represented by a pencil that is going to come in to this side. So we've got our hot coming in, and just like the neutral, they're connected together. And then it's going to come out. Oops. That's why I don't like these little pencils. I'm going to switch to I like my 0.9 lead pencil. And we're going to come out. All right. So now I've got my ground in, my ground out, my neutral in, my neutral out, and my hot in and my hot out. As of right now, this receptacle would work, because if I plug something in, I've got hot coming in, which then will do its work and then go out through the neutral and do its job. And in a safety instance, we've got the ground connected to the ground. Okay. Now, just like in a panel, we're going to hook those two things together, but we won't deal with that yet. All right. Now, I realized I crowded that paper a little bit. Now it gets a little bit better. So let's talk about what we're going to do with the next things. Just like we did before, we're going to deal with the ground wire first. And I'm going to come down quite a bit on purpose because we're going to kind of go over that with these. And the ground is going to come up here. But just like before, we have a ground wire coming in and a ground wire going out. So I'm going to draw the ground wire that's going out. And it's going to come up here. And let's see if you can kind of figure out how we're going to deal with this. So pause the video, figure that one out. And if you paid attention on the last one, you kind of probably figured out that we're going to have two wires. We're going to cut one of them shorter. One of them will stick out the top and get connected to that green screw. So just FYI, we can't put two wires on one screw. That's against code. So that's why we have to use these things. All right. Now, we're going to be a little different on this one. This is where the red wire nut comes in. So now let's talk about a switch and what the switch does. And for this, we're using the normal switch with 2 screws on one side and just the ground on the other, and not this 3-way switch that actually has 3 screws. We'll talk about that one later. So the only thing that happens inside of this switch is that right now the switch is off, which means that there's nothing connecting these two. There's a little piece of spring metal in there that when you turn the switch off, it connects them together. So all this is doing is it's either allowing electrons to flow through here or not. And so this is going to be on the hot side of the switch where it'll allow electrons to flow through the hot wire or not. That's all it does. So let's deal with the hot next. The neutral next, because nothing for the neutral gets hooked up to this. This doesn't deal with the neutral. The neutral will bypass it. So the way we're going to deal with the neutral is we're going to come in, cross over this wire and come in, and let's just for fun kind of go over and kind of we'll stick outside the box a little bit. Okay, and then the neutral that's going to go into the other side is going to go to the same place. And it's going to come across here and it's going to go off into the other box. So we got a neutral coming in and a neutral going out. So those 2 neutrals are going to be connected together with a wire nut. It's never going to have anything to do with the light switch. And hopefully we can kind of explain that a little bit in just a moment. And about why that happens, because the switch is either completing or not completing a circuit. And I know I'm kind of getting over into the other, but we're talking about, so that red wire nut is connecting those neutrals together in that box. Now, the hot wire is going to come over here. It's going to come in. And I'm going to cross over my piece just a little bit like this. Probably should have made these things bigger and easier to deal with, but in the time that I had to put this stuff together, I did the best I could. So we've got our hot wire coming in. It could have come into the bottom or the top. It doesn't really matter. And the other side can come out of whatever the other one is, and is going to come over into the other box. So we've got our hot in and our hot out. Now we'll hook up this guy first, and then we'll explain a little bit. Now on this one, there's no place to hook up. So let's create our own things. And we'll do it authentically with what this receptacle actually looks like. On the back of this receptacle, it's got some little screws. There is a hot, which is the brass, and there is a neutral, which is a silvery white screw. Now, there is no ground on those because your general light bulb only has a positive and negative, doesn't have a ground. And the way these work is that this spring brass piece in the center is separated from the outside piece here, and so your hot side comes in through this, and your neutral side goes out through the outside. And on the bottom of this, you can see that there's brass screws, that this is where the hot will go, and there's these silver screws that the neutral will go. And there's no, for at least a plastic one like this, there's no ground. If it was metal, there'd probably be a screw for ground. Or in the box, there sometimes is a place to screw the ground, but we don't have that, so we're not going to worry about that for right now. So let's just deal with the ground first. the ground is I'm gonna come way around here and go to the right and just go, and the ground is just gonna end in here. It's just gonna terminate in the box. Now, I'm not sure what the actual electrical codes are for that, for dealing with a loose wire like that in a box. When we wire this, we'll make sure that it's way down in there and not where it's going to touch one of these two things, because that could create a short circuit if it touches one of the hot side. So we're just going to leave it alone for the purposes of what we're doing. And we're going to go in order of safety again, neutral next. Now this time we've only got one wire coming into the box, so we're not going to need any wire nuts or anything. So we've got a neutral coming into there, and our hot is going to get connected to our hot. Okay, so we've got a full circuit. Now, let's talk about how the wire works and what we did with the neutral over here. So let's say, remember I talk about following the hamster through the tubes, right? The electrons, where are they going? So we've got power coming in. It's coming into this receptacle and out of the receptacle. Now, it's also connected in here so we can plug something in, and there's power going through the receptacle and power coming out through the hot into the switch. When the switch is off, the buck stops here. There's no electrons flowing to this. So we've broken that circuit. There's no hot getting to this, okay? When the switch is on, click, and now the power, the electrons can flow through this and into this, because those two internal to this switch, those, when we turn this on, now these two have been connected together with a little piece of metal that goes up against those on the inside. And now our electrons are flowing through here, through the hot, goes into our light bulb and around, and then back through the neutral, where this has been connected together here, through the neutral. And these, remember, these two are connected over here, and back into our panel and back into our negative. So we've got a complete circuit for the light bulb when the switch is off, and a broken circuit when the light is, when the light's on. We have a complete circuit. When the switch is off, we've broken that circuit, and there's no flow through this part. All right, so we've set this up. Next step will be to actually wire this thing up. All right. Good luck. Have a good day. See you next time.